that's the same thing for 3, which happens to also link to the same number, and 4 and 5, they all link to the same number, but this satisfies the definition of a function, which the definition is super important. It just says every input can only have one output. Well, every single input that we have, 2, 3, 4, and 5, each only have one output. Now, of course, we could change this problem, and we could make it so that it's not a function. Well, how would we do that? Well, all we have to do is repeat one of these inputs, like, for example, 2, and give it a different output, like 7. So now, the input 2 not only links to 6, but it also links to another number in the output bubble, so to speak. It links to 7. So there are 2 links coming out of 2. Why is this a problem? Well, think about this as a computer program. So if you go to a database, let's just say you're working for a company, and you have your box, and it's asking for the person's ID. Let's say you're working for student services, and you enter that person's ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now you expect to see that person's whole record. But what if that one ID produced Bill, Edwards, and produced Tom, Erickson, produced 2 different records? Well, for number 1, you probably would be shocked to see that it would produce 2 records, and number 2, that indicates a problem, because what you're using as your input, your ID, doesn't give you the correct output. Now, of course, you could probably choose between the 2, but computers are set up in such a way that you've got to make sure things are unique. One input, one ID only links to one record, or else you're going to have some administrative headaches. So that's an example of how functions really operate in the real world. Also think about websites. So if I look at a URL, a web address, and the website that it links to, so let's just say I type in cgc.edu. Well, that's only going to take me to one website. It's not going to take me to Facebook and to Chandler Gilbert website, but it takes me to CGCC's homepage. Similarly, if I type in facebook.com, well, that's not going to take me to 2 different web pages. It's only going to take me to one. It's going to take me to Facebook. So every single, a lot of applications in the real world, it's important that things are functions, because, of course, if Facebook was, let's say Chandler Gilbert decided they wanted their web page address to be Facebook, and Facebook decided they wanted theirs to be facebook.com, there'd be a problem. I mean, how would your web browser even handle that? So maybe it could split the screen, and it shows, of course, CGC over here, and it shows Facebook over here, but that doesn't make sense. So a lot of times functions are very, very important in the real world, and we wouldn't be able to survive without them, at least not comfortably. So that's why, for example, you have a social security number. It links that number only to you, and hence it's so important to protect that security, because if it suddenly links to somebody else, now you've got a problem. So that's about all we'll say really here about functions, but remember the definition. The definition is important. The definition of a function. The representations are really important. How can you think about them? Ordered pairs, words, table, graph, and then finally to use symbols. So we want to be able to use symbols, function notation. So if y is a function of x, what does that exactly mean? And those are really the key points that I had hoped to address in these videos.